Hopkins, South Carolina, and all surrounding areas. The Mickens are bringing a night in Hopkins to the Lower Richland Theater on December 11th, 2022. The Mickens will be celebrating their 26th year anniversary and first live recording with special guests King George, Doc McKenzie and the Highlights, Tammy Edwards and the Edwards Sisters, 2022 Stellar Award winners of Brown Boy and McFadden. Tickets are available at the Mickens26live.com. It's a movie.
Some events are great when experienced once, but sometimes you've got to do it again. Avery Entertainment presents the return of the You Name It Tour. Pastor Shirley Caesar headlines this dynamic encore. Saturday, November 12th at the Sumter County Civic Center. Also featuring the Canton Spirituals.
We didn't have much.
Those Mississippi boys are coming.
But the Lord been good to me.
Doc McKenzie and the Highlights.
I wanna live so God can use me anywhere.
The Gospel Legends, Roy and the Revelation. The return of the You Name It Tour. Saturday, November 12th at the Sumter County Civic Center. Doors open at 2. Program begins 3:45. Platinum, VIP, and advanced tickets available. Get them at Eventbrite. Imports limited in Sumter. House Musica and Undisputed Barbershop. For info, call 803-846-9872.
Myself to the screen, and we're going to talk election day, November the 8th. Now, a lot of you may not understand. You may say, well, why is she taking time out to do this? A voteless people is a hopeless people. You can't sit down and you can't criticize and you can't say, well, they should do this and they should do that when you're not doing your part. So what we want to do, knowledge is power, and we're trying to educate people and to let people know, hey Dana, to educate people, to let people know that you need to get out and vote. Have your sons, your daughters, your grandchildren, your aunties, your uncles, your cousins, you know how we do it, and have them to go out and cast their vote. We have Miss Rosemunda Peggy Butler. She's running for Secretary of State for the state of South Carolina. Listen, we can make this happen. We can do it. We can do it. We can take Obama's slogan. Yes, we
We
can,
can.
but we can't if you don't go out and do your part. So, Brenda, we want you to handle Dillon and Lakeview for me. We want you to handle Dillon and Lakeview, my hometown, for me, and all of you in these rural South Carolina areas. This lady right here, this is who I want y'all to tell them to vote for. If you vote all Democratic, then you'll automatically vote for her. But if you're not going to vote all Democratic and you're in the state of South Carolina, then you will have to look for her name. But if you vote all Democratic, you will vote for her. I am asking those of you, especially in the rural areas, if you know people in the rural areas, tell them don't sit home. Let's go out and make a difference. And we're going to talk about some other things in voting for those of you who are tuned in and you're out of town. We're going to talk about some other things and how important that is as well, perhaps in your state, in your city. But we want to give way right now to, it's so hard for me not to say Councilwoman Rosemunda Peggy Butler. She used to be in city council. Thank you, Brenda. I'm appreciate it now. I need you to do that down there because we need this lady in there now, okay? Do it. But it's hard. She used to be on city council in the city of West Columbia. So she is no stranger to politics. So we want her to introduce herself and let you know who she is, and then we'll ask her some questions.
Well, good evening, Reverend Coleman. Thank you for having me on your show. This has been an amazing journey. I tell you, this is God's doing, none of mine, none of mine whatsoever, because there is no way I would have put myself out here to do this like this. But it has been amazing. I've been almost across the whole state, and everybody has been so open and honest and looking for a change. Everybody's looking for a change.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm that change agent.
Mm-hmm.
But I am Rosemunda Peggy Butler, and I live in West Columbia, South Carolina. Lexington County has been my home basically all of my life. I am a disabled combat veteran from Desert Storm. And I served on the West Columbia City Council. I was the first African American elected to council. And then I was the first female mayor pro tem also to that council. I served there for 12 years. And right now I'm presently on the Central Midlands Regional Aging and Disability Advisory Committee. I also serve as a silver-haired legislator. In many organizations, too many to name, trustee at the Brooklyn Baptist Church for over 33 years, I think now. I'm a mother of two, Pastor C.J. Butler and Reverend Dr. D. Dawkins Hagler. A mima of 6 grands plus 2 great-grands. And those 4 little ones has been my campaign committee. Because when I go out, sometimes I take them, and you should see them, vote for my mima. I'm going like, wow. And then they've been in parades with me. So they have enjoyed the journey with me. This has been a family-oriented journey. And when you say a poor people's campaign, yes, it has been, because I didn't raise a whole lot of money. But God, I think I've kind of pictured and put on Facebook all the places that I've gone. I had a lady call me today. Miss Peggy, how you doing? I'm doing well. And it was so touching that she called to check on me because she's up in Chesterfield. So it's been real. I got into this journey with my daughter. My daughter, Dee, said, "Mom, let's do a mother-daughter Secretary of State. I'm in Georgia, you in South Carolina." I said, "Dee, how's that going to work?" And she's asked me that for about 2 years, and finally I said yes, and so that it happened. But her campaign ended in the runoff, and I thought, oh no, I can't do this by myself. But here I am, and it's 7 days out. So, and I didn't do it by myself. Now, trust me, God was holding my hand the whole time. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what I was going to do or what I was going to say, but it was just automatic. It just happened. And when people called me, I let every county know that I would be willing to come and visit them. And so they just started sending these emails and texts. Well, when you going to come to this county, or when you going to come to that one? And sometimes it was like 4 counties at one time. I'm going, how am I going to do that? So one day, believe it or not, my sister and one of her friends and another of my friends, we got in the car. We went to Abbeville, left Abbeville, went to Florence. So we rode all day. Mm-hmm. But we got it done and met plenty of folk along the way. So it has been interesting. Some of the places I never would have thought was on the map, but people do live there. And everybody has the same problem. We're all struggling. We all need better jobs. We all need better wages. A lot of the businesses are struggling. And so my journey now is to make sure that the Secretary of State's office is accessible to everyone. Mm-hmm. And especially, and I'm going to say especially the African-American community, because in order for us to create generational wealth, we have to have the resources to get started. Mm-hmm. So basically, I have one more thing. My mom was my shero. My mother, Wilhelmina Purcell Golson, was her union rep for her company way back in the day. I'm talking about during Dr. King's time. My mom even marched with Dr. King. When Dr. King was assassinated, she was in Atlanta at the time as a union rep, and she had gone down on the bus because her company always sent her on the bus. And we were so afraid, not knowing what was going to happen because it was an uproar. It was chaotic. And we finally got her home on an airplane. But it was traumatizing that she was down there and all this stuff was going on. But she instilled in us, and I have instilled in my children, and my children are instilling in their children. So it's a generational thing. We have to make sure that our generations know where we come from in order to know where we're going.
Well, before we get into the position you're running for, we're going to talk about the importance it is for everyone to vote. And Miss Virginia Harris, you're up in Lancaster, South Carolina. So we know you know everybody in Lancaster, South Carolina. This lady is running for the Secretary of State for the state of South Carolina. Please, please, please spread the word. I said earlier before you came on, if you're voting straight Democrat, you'll automatically vote for her. But if you're going to do a split ticket and you're going to vote part Republican and part Democrat, then you might miss her. But if you do straight Democrat, then you'll get her. Let me tell you something. This is a very smart lady. And let me show you how sure her opponent is that he's going to win. He's been in there, 40 years? Has it been 40 years, something like that? He's so sure that he's going to win. He didn't do no campaigning. You don't see no signs because, in his opinion, she's just another African-American that's wasting their time. So I'm going to say to you, we know how to do it, and we can do it when we want to do it. We can do exactly what we want to do when we want to do it. And so it's going to be left up to us, because if everybody in those rural areas vote for her, she'll win. If everybody in those rural areas, in those areas like Lancaster, Great Falls, Anderson, South Carolina, Greenville, Charleston, Orangeburg. I can't begin to name it. It's all over the state. We can do it. We can show that we got power. But we're gonna have to get up out of the bed and we're gonna have to go vote. And I said last night, if you know you don't like rain or you know you don't like
Right.
cold weather, do early voting
That's right.
because we know how it is when it's pouring down rain. Now, one thing about the other side and then us, if it's raining, they're gonna put on the raincoats and they going out there and vote. Versus we'll stay home and say we'll catch it the next time. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't stress you enough. We need you. We need you. We need you. Not just because she's an African American and she'll make history, but she's smart. She knows what she's doing. Tell us some of your plans for the Secretary of State's office.
Well, the Secretary of State's office, basically, well, let me just give you a few aspects of it. In South Carolina, the Secretary of State's office does not oversee elections. Most people think that because that's what they do in other states. We do. It's like the business hub for businesses, nonprofits, profits, LLCs. The notary public is in there. You also have all the appointments and commissions by the governor goes through that office. Now, one thing that does happen in that office is once the elections have been certified, they come back to the Secretary of State's office and then it's recertified again, and the information then is sent out to all of the electors by the Secretary of State's office with the seal. That South Carolina state seal is stamped on it. Now, any legal document that you have to have the seal on it. That's why you have notary publics, because they can notarize with that seal legal documents. One thing about the notary publics is that if you're not careful when you go into the office to become one, you'll miss it because the documentation, you have to have your signature on it, your $25, plus it's got to be notarized by somebody else. Now, if you miss any part of that, they're going to send it back to you, and they'll send it back to you 90 times until you get it right. So most people miss it the first 2 times. So any legal document, you have to be careful as to what you put on the document and how it is presented. In the office, I don't know if you've ever been there, to maneuver the website, it is a maze.
It's complicated. It's very complicated. It's very complicated.
When an entrepreneur decides, well, I'm going to start a business. And if you try to do it online, you would get frustrated. You'll get your call. You still may not get the information that you need. I honestly believe that if there was a task force there for new entrepreneurs that want to start a business, it doesn't take that much to talk to folk on the phone. It really doesn't, especially if you know what you're doing. The staff could actually walk you through what you need to have. And then, like most businesses in the first 2 years, they either survive or they die for lack of resources. Most of them are trying to fund their business out of pocket. A lot of times you don't have to do that because there are government fundings. You have the SBA there.
That we don't know about.
But you also have private fundings. There are banks that will support you and back you. And if you get in with one of them, they give you the funding and you won't have to pay it out your pocket. Because when you start your own business, 9 times out of 10, it's out of your pocket. Plus, you can't pay yourself. You can't pay yourself and run your business on your dime. Most of us can't. And that's how we fail. So the funding sources are there. We just need to have an avenue to get to them. We have plenty of business leaders in the community that could work on that task force and give you all of the nuggets, the gems that you need to get your business up and running. And then you don't want to wait until you're drowning. And a lot of times we do. We wait till we drown.
Because we don't know.
Right. And
Because we
then
don't know.
we don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
then a lot of times you don't have anybody to tell you. And then your pride is hurt. And then you won't ask anybody. So there goes your business. And you could have had a valuable business to make millions of dollars, but you didn't ask anybody. But I don't want it to be so that you have to always ask. It needs to be out in front. I tried that maze. It was horrible because I went on there and going, like, what in the world do you do now? And they have their resources that are on there that they tell you that's on the website, but that's not going to work. We need to have folk to not guide us by our hands, but give us the information that we need. Information, knowledge is power if you can get it. But 9 times out of 10, we don't get it.
But let me stop you right there. Hello, Miss Jenny. Let me stop you right there and say this. It should be so many people on here tonight. You know why? Because they don't have a clue, whether it's in Columbia, South Carolina, Georgia, New York, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas. They don't have a clue what their Secretary of State's office do. And they don't take the time to listen to informative information to find out. So therefore, a lot of the resources that's out there, we lose out on them because we don't take time to read. We don't take time to put ourselves in the right places. We don't put ourselves in the right places to know about the funding. We tend to depend on other people and other people resources and other people telling us. When we go online for everything else, we go online to shop, we go on Facebook to be nosy, we can do anything we want to do. But when it comes to educating ourselves, we won't do it. We won't listen and see. Do you not know the information that you just gave out is vital information? Now, people know that there are funds available for businesses and stuff, but the business owners and the nonprofits and the LLCs that need to be listening, they said somewhere listen to some hip hop song or going to, in some gossip session. Now, what they're doing is fine, but it comes a point in time when you got to educate yourself. If you have a dream and you want that dream to work, then you got to educate yourself in every way possible. Every way possible in order for you to succeed. And then you got to educate yourself some more and some more and some more. And I'm a living witness. When I got ready, I got my ministry, Loretta Coleman Ministries, through Secretary of State, and I got 2 LLCs. I had to pay somebody to do that. I didn't know how to do that because it is complicated. It is very complicated. And if you don't have the patience to do it, it will make you say, forget it. I'm not going to even worry about it. I'm going to go on and do something else because this is too complicated for me. But it was worth me paying somebody to make sure that it be done right. And now I'm going to go for the gusto.
That's right. That's exactly what you do. You make sure that you get all of the funding that's out there.
Mm-hmm. Hello, everybody. But so go ahead and tell us, you said some vital things. Now, a lot of these people, they don't want to help you when you go in these offices. They don't want to help you. They help some, but they don't want to help everybody.
And we need an office that's going to be accessible to everyone. When I say everyone, preferably women, African Americans, people with disabilities, because I am disabled. We have disabled people who are there. Did I lose you?
No, somebody was trying to call you. I saw it. And can you hear me? Yeah, somebody was trying to call you. I saw it when it did that. Okay.
Okay.
Just click them off and you can still hear me. It's going to happen every time somebody try to call you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I have to go back to you? Okay, here we are.
Okay.
But I was saying, and veterans, because we have veteran-owned businesses, people with disabilities. And what I want to do was create a camp in the summer for young folk, young people. Young people have very good minds, visual minds. A friend of mine, daughter, has started a lemonade stand, but now she has an LLC and she's been doing lemonade online for 5 years now. So when you think about when you watch your children, your grandchildren, watch them. If they ever say they want to do a business or start a business, listen to them. Help them. The resources are out there. I read the other day that in West Columbia, they're getting ready to, the company Colite has been vacant for 10, 15 years, but they're going to make that an entrepreneur industry for young people. I'm going like, okay. So it's out there. We have to make sure that our children know, because once they're working for themselves, they're creating generational wealth. You don't always have to work for someone else. A lot of our children are bright, energetic, and everybody is not college material. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with going to college and getting all the degrees that you can get. But a lot of folk are hands-on. And back in the day, and I don't know if you remember, when I was younger, before I got into the work industry, I used to watch all these white trucks come through the community. You had brick masons.
Yes.
You had everybody, carpenters, everybody, the drywall folk, everybody was on those trucks, and they was coming out of the community. But what happened was they didn't know how to create their business so it would be generational. They worked for at that moment, didn't know how to invest or save their monies. And now when you see the white trucks now coming through the neighborhood, they're Hispanics. They're not us anymore.
Hispanics.
We lost. And that's all we knew. Every generation from mine on up, we work with our hands. So when we start integrating the schools, they took out vocational, what is it? The
vocational rehabilitation.
Well, the vocational instruction that taught you how to be a brick mason. Because
Yes,
at Lakeland,
yes.
they had a department that would show you how to make bricks, how you lay bricks, did drywall. But if we would put those back into those community schools that they closed, we can get those young folk that's on the street now, because a lot of them work with their hands, get them back into the workplace. Then we can get back where we need to go. But like I said, they didn't know how to invest in their business. They didn't know anything about being licensed and bonded. They didn't have that information. So they lost all of that. So then the next two generations missed out. So now here we go again. We've got the young folk on the streets again. They don't want to go to college, but I'm sure if they had the instructions, they would go into those businesses that we lost before. I know they could, because I've seen them work as handy people, like a handyman. He can fix this or he can fix that, even mechanics. But they're in Midlands Tech, they have a lot of industrial jobs that you can go to Midlands Tech now free.
Right.
And we need to make sure that people know that. Go and get that certificate. So you can go into one of those jobs and make $50 to $60 an hour, because that's what's going to be happening in the next couple of years. Absolutely. We need to make sure that we get our folk there and tell our young children, sometimes they need guidance. And when they're young, they're going to do crazy stuff, but then they're going to come back. They'll come back in. So once you've taught them well, they'll come back. We just need to teach them. But our business people now, you have a lot of resources in the community, resource centers that will help you with your business. However, they only take you so far. So far. And then they leave you, and then it's up to you to continue. That's where the Secretary of State's office can come in and help you to get where you need to go. That's what I would like to do for that office, to make it more accessible, to make sure that our business owners are able to have jobs that can pay decent wages. You know, the big businesses get all of the incentives, the tax breaks. What do we get as small businesses? Nothing. So you would have to work with other departments, Department of Commerce or whatever other department, to make sure that we get those tax breaks, because we need the same thing. We don't have, I don't have a Walmart or Sam's to give me any money. I got to make sure that I get it myself, but I have to know where it is to go and get it. And you got the Morgan Chase banks. They'll lend you the money. You just need to
Hold
know.
on a minute. Hold on. Let me address something you said. Good evening to everybody that we're talking to. We're talking to Rosemunda Peggy Butler, who's running for Secretary of State. Thank you, Miss Bailey. We're talking to her, but let me tell you, wherever you are, this is vital information because she's saying some things that I did not know. And let me tell you, that's why I cannot stress it enough. There's so much power in voting. It's so much power in
So much
networking,
power.
putting yourself at the right place at the right time. And we won't do that. We won't do that. We want to do everything, and we want people to put stuff in we want people to put stuff in our lap. We got to work for it. We got to work for it. But we start by voting. We start by voting. And then once we vote, and if it didn't happen this time, vote the next time. Go and gather you a posse and say, well, we didn't get it this time, but we're going to get it next time. But I'm a believer like this, Peggy. If we stick together, and I said last night, we use these for everything. Why not text our text? Why not put on our text list, text people and say, vote on November the 8th? Just like we spread that gossip, why we can't say, vote on November the 8th? When they come back at you and say it doesn't matter whether I vote or not, then you start talking about, and I hate to say it because I don't know who's on here, because you do know that people watch. You can't see them watching. But do they want, I said it last night, do they want to go back to getting the dog sick on them?
Okay.
The water hoses? Do they want to go back to crosses being burned in the yard? Do they want to go back to all of that? We have the power. We showed it when Obama was in there them 8 years. So why can't we
Exactly.
do it now?
And we need to do it again. When you talk about voting, they don't understand. When you start voting, you start at the local level.
Mm-hmm.
They need to understand that your city council elects all of they hired a police chief. Police chief
Thank you.
hires your police officers. The city elects a judge. So when you go before the court, the mindset of the judge is the same as the mindset of your city council folk. Okay. That's where the rubber meets the road.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have your school board. A lot of folks sit home. In West Columbia and Lexington District 2, we have not had anybody on the school board that looks like us in 22 years. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
And not just that, Lexington County Council doesn't have anyone look like us on there. And it's all because we don't vote. In order to change, Angela Davis had a quote that I will no longer accept the things that I cannot change. I will change the things that I cannot accept. And that's what we need to be about. Mm-hmm. We have to vote, and we have to educate our young folk to let them know things would be better if you start voting at age 18. I started voting at age 18. At age 20, back in the day, I was working as a poll worker. Wasn't that many of us working as poll workers during that time? Miss Eva Pearl Davis, God bless her soul, she came to me when I was 20 years old. She said, Peggy, can you come down to my house? I said, yes, ma'am. She took me by the hand and said, I'm taking you to the Lexington County Democratic Women's Council. I'm going like, you taking me where? You know, you taking me where? So she said, yes, I'm taking you. That was 20 years old. That was my avenue to get into where everything was going on, because I had no clue what they were doing. I had no clue that how powerful your vote really was until that time. And I've been there ever since then. So we talked 50 years now. So it's just that if you know better, you do better. But we have to teach our children, because a lot of times they'll say when they get 20 years old, 25, my vote doesn't count. It won't matter. But you have to instill in them why it does matter. You tell them why it matters. The judicial system, as far as DJJ is concerned, if you've got the right persons within there. My daughter was the first chair of the DJJ, first African-American chair of the DJJ here in South Carolina. And she would come home and she said, Mama, if you would only know how those children are treated in DJJ. And then you don't have anybody coming to the hearings. It's just them and all the elected officials there. We have to support our children. No matter what they do, they still our children, and we have to support them. But that's an elected position. There are positions that are appointed through the election process, but you got to be in it to get there. You just can't sit on the sidelines. You have to be actively involved. And we're not doing that. We're not doing enough of it. That's what I don't understand. I just don't. I really like to see young folk. There's a group of young children through the New Hope Academy that has been following me. And I asked them, what they would like to see change. And they told me. And it's some things that we wanted to change when we were that age. And then you think about it. If they're saying the same thing now, then we haven't gotten as far as we thought we had. We haven't. But until we get to the polls, we had 10 days actually from the 24th to November 5th. Because someone said today, well, I was going to vote, but early voting, but I guess I waited too long. Early voting is still in.
They don't educate themselves.
November the 5th is the last day for early voting. And then you have the election on November the 8th. Now, the process was changed for another reason, but it was in our favor, though. See, God worked it out. That was in our favor that we can go and early vote. There's no reason why we shouldn't have any long lines on November the 8th. Everybody should have already voted by whatever means, especially all our seniors, because people can help get them out there now. And a lot of them have done absentee balloting. I talked to someone in Clinton last night. She said she helped 40 people to do absentee ballot. The folk are getting it done. We just have to make sure that we get it done here, because they're doing it out in the rural areas.
Yes. I
don't know what we're waiting on.
And we are our own worst enemy. We say the other side is our enemy, but we're our enemy when we don't get out and fight for what we want. When we don't get out and do what's right for us to do. Our forefathers, our ancestors, they risked their lives to get out there and fight for rights to vote. And then we're going to say, it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. You remember when President Nelson Mandela ran for office after he came out of prison? Those folk were in line for days. When I'm talking about days in Africa. Some of them couldn't walk, then they drug them on cloths to get them to register. It's amazing how we sit back and think that, oh, it's okay. No, it's not okay. It is never okay not to go vote.
Let me read this. Willie Joyner says, we always blame everybody else, but never take the responsibility ourselves. We're quick to say that what we are doing, what are they doing for us? Will we ever put ourselves in a place and say it's time? I think she meant it's time for us to do it ourselves. We don't. We want people. I mean, we have the power to do it. We have the power to do it. But the question is, are we going to do it?
Are we going to do it? And what is it going to take for us to get angry enough to go to the polls and say, I'm taking everybody in my house. I'm taking everybody on my block. But first of all, you got to make sure that they're registered to vote.
Yes.
And we don't do enough of that either. For some reason, we don't want to be registered to vote. So you can have an excuse. Any excuse is better than none.
Yes. We get treated the way we react. I'm telling you, this is getting good here now. I've already voted. My first time voting in South Carolina, but didn't have many Democrats to vote for. Well, thank you so very much, Miss Jenny.
Well,
I'm telling you, it's powerful and it's not too late if you are registered. Now, we can't do nothing about it if you're not registered.
Right.
But if you are registered, please, ma'am, please, sir, go vote. Hey, Miss Muzan. I mean, we got to. This lady is saying some powerful stuff and it's making us think. And Peggy, last night I proposed a question, just like the young folks got together and did the Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Why can't they do the voting matter to get these young people involved and let them see the importance it is in casting the vote? Somebody's got to take a stand.
Right. And if Black Lives Matter, you got together and you protested, you can do that same thing. Get everybody together who you got for the protest and get yourself to the polls, because you can change. We can change anything we want to. President Obama said something the other day, alluding to Herschel Walker. I don't understand. And
I don't understand that either.
We have our own senators in South Carolina who has traveled to Atlanta to get involved in their politics with Herschel Walker. Okay. And someone had the audacity to say, well, he's a role model, and then that means all the young folk will become Republicans. Are you for real? But we have to make sure that that doesn't happen.
We have to make sure.
We have to. We have to. And we can do it. We've done everything else. We've done I have been texting folk and telling them to text and call all of your friends and all of your families and let them know that there is an election, that I am running. Plus, because you can't assume that people know, because they may not know. And then if they do know, they holler, oh, I'll vote on the election day. Well, why are you going to wait for election day? Like you said, it may rain, it may be cold. You know, we don't go out when it's cold. We have had great weather for early voting.
Yes.
And you can vote up until Saturday at 6:00. Why can't you do that? We need to go out and we need to do that, because we got to change South Carolina. Because if we don't change South Carolina this time around, in 2024, the Secretary of State's office also holds the Electoral College, okay, which is 9 votes. Now, even though you have the popular vote, the Electoral College still determines who your president is, okay? And in South Carolina, there's 9 votes. Even though President Biden basically almost carried South Carolina on the Democratic side, he did not get not 1 vote out of those 9 votes of our Electoral College. So then we have to be vigilant when it comes to who is in those seats for the Electoral College. I mean, we really do. A lot of folks probably didn't know it was in the Secretary of State's office. And this is why across the state, they're targeting the Secretary of State's office, because there's a lot of power in that office.
Where did she go? Where did she said, we're so uneducated to the real world. And we are, but it's our fault. You know why? Let's go back to our ancestors again. They didn't have Google. They didn't have Facebook. They didn't have cell phones either. Come on now. They didn't have none of that.
None of it.
Somehow they got that word out.
Yes, they did. Yes, they
But we
did.
got everything we need to find out about I don't listen to commercials on radio and TV. I go to Google and I want to know what have you done in the hood. That's
Right,
what I want
right.
to know. What have you done in the hood? Not what have you done downtown. Not what have you done in this civic club, but what have you done in the hood? That will tell the truth. Because if they ain't done nothing, it ain't gonna be in Google. And I know I should say
No,
it's not going to be in Google and not be using Ebonics, but I get excited when I start talking about this because we go to Google and find out when the next Nikes is coming out, when the next
yes,
hit song is coming out, but we can't go to Google to find out about that politician who gets on TV and say, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Okay, you saying you're gonna do this and you that, but what have you done?
prior
Come
to
on,
the
people.
election.
We got everything in front of us that we need to know, but we're too lazy to go on there and we're too lazy to read and see. And then they come in our areas and feed us fish sandwiches and hamburgers.
There you go.
And we go crazy over a fish sandwich and a hamburger and some fried chicken. And then we say, oh, they care about us people. Us people? No, we can get fish. We can get chicken. But what are you going to do for my child? What are you going to do for my child? What are you going to do for that boy that's in trouble? What are you going to do? How am I going to get out of this mess? I don't have the money to pay my electric bill. What kind of fun? Tell me what you going to do to help me when I lose my job.
Exactly.
But see, we don't do research. You can't tell me anything. That's just the way I am. You can get up there and you can say you do okay, I'm gonna put you to the test and I'm gonna go to Google and I'm gonna find out what have you done. And then if you say you're gonna do this and then you get in office and you don't do it, I'm gonna call you on it.
And that's what we need to
I
do. We
get
need to
wine.
be
I get. But let me read this. People struggle for our right to vote. People struggled for our right to vote. We need to use it. If we come out in large number and prove our votes count, it would empower generations. Let me tell you, you are so right. Who said that? Miss Hopkins?
Ms.
Let me tell you,
Hopkins.
if this lady here wins Secretary of State for South Carolina, it'll upset South Carolina. And we can get what we want at least for the next 4 years because they'll be scared because they'll know that we got power.
But let me just tell you one other little nugget you don't know about. South Carolina has not have a constitutional officer that's African American. I said I wasn't going to say it since 1876. And we have had valuable people to run for this office. 1876. How many years ago that is? I can't count. That's just too far for me to count.
I wouldn't even thought about being born in 1876. I wouldn't even thought about it.
So what are we doing? What are we doing? We have the power, but we're not using it because we can change that. Congressman Clyburn was the first one since Reconstruction to run for that office, and he ran for several offices. My question is, what is it going to take to change that office? What do we have to do?
We never pulled together as one. You said that right. We fight against each other.
All the time. All the time. And I don't know why. In my community now, if you've been over here lately, at one point it was just us. But now we have more Hispanics in here. And I don't have a problem with that because I believe in America being open and free so everybody can have a better way of life. But when they come together, they come as a unit, one unit. All the businesses that they have started, who backs them? They shop in their businesses. We don't support our own. That's why we can't get ahead, because if you have a business, somebody's going to come to your business and want to know why your price is too high. Well, you don't know how much my overhead is. Why should I bring my prices down to suit you when you will take your green dollar and go someplace else? You know, we have to learn to support each other. You always looking for a handout.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that, Miss Jenny. And that's what everybody else. But you're right. I was over there to the Chinese restaurant and I just looked at that whole shopping center. And it was nothing but Hispanic. Like you said, we're not being prejudiced, but they
Right.
pulled together. They pulled together. We can't do. Let me tell you something. Settles Beauty Supply Store, the
Right.
only African American beauty supply store here. Yes, they're a little high, but I drive past several Chinese places to
Hmm.
go to that beauty supply store where I can support it so it can continue to survive.
Exactly.
And what we do, we say, well, they're a little bit too high. Well, by the time you ride 5 miles, you done burn out that much gas. When you go
Exactly.
right down the road, and we got to say they are nice people, but you don't never see Chinese giving back to the community.
Of course not.
They never give back. And I gotta be careful because I don't want them to take down my video. But you don't never see them giving back to they never give back to the community. And we go in there and we buy that weave and we buy everything from them, and they never give back. They will go and buy $200 worth of crab legs. But that's
Yes.
the truth. It sounds comical, but it is the
It's the
truth.
truth. It's the
It's the
truth.
truth. And they are not going to help us. They're not going to give us anything. And
Right.
and what are we doing? We're making them, they're millionaires. We're making them more millionaires and more millionaires by supporting them. And that you never see nowhere where they get back to us. Come on, people, this is education night. And see, that's why, them people, let's go down by the river. The song,
Right.
the slave
There you
song,
go.
and where they was giving clues to each other to meet them by the river so they could get their plan so the slave master wouldn't know what they were doing. We can't do that because somebody will go and tell it.
Some just like Harriet Tubman said, I could have saved more, but they didn't realize it was a slave. So okay, and then they would go and tell it.
Mm-hmm.
They would go and tell it. So that's our
Mm-hmm.
problem. We just can't. I don't know why we can't work together. I don't know what it's going to take, but we have to. At some point in time, we will have to come together as a race
Mm-hmm.
and work with each other. That's all we. And when it comes down to the rubber meeting rubber, that's all we got. We all we got.
Mm-hmm.
But
All we got.
that's all. We all we got. So we're gonna have to do better as working with each other. Working with each other.
Well, let me say this, and then we're gonna get back. I asked a question last night. If we don't get out and vote, what happened January 6, 2021? It's gonna happen again, and it's gonna be worse. Was it 2021 or 2020?
2021.
2021. What happened at the Capitol is going to happen again, and it's going to be worse. And it's a shame and a disgrace before God that no kind of charges was brought, that he just walked away just like that. You know why? Because we ain't using the power we got to vote. And he going to be president again if we don't get out and vote.
Amen.
He's going to be president again if we don't get out. And that's going to be scary because he's going to be vindictive. He's going to try to bring revenge.
Yes.
And if that's not enough to get people to go out, because woo, Jesus have mercy. That's scary.
It is. He still has 60 million voters behind him. And it doesn't matter what he said, what he does, he's still okay. He's still okay. He's still the best thing that ever happened.
The best thing. The best
what
thing.
in the world is going on? And when they attacked Nancy Pelosi's Speaker of the House, what do you think they would do to us if they went into her house and attacked her husband?
Yeah.
What will they do to us? Because
Yeah.
see, right now there is no fear. Number 45 allowed people to say what they wanted to say. Everybody is bold and brave now. They just say anything they're big and bad enough to say, and we're supposed to stand there and take it. Now that's a whole nother sermon in itself.
Ms. Hopkins said the ironic thing is when African American apply for a fluential, I think that's what that is. Position, open a company. We look at the money they're going to receive and not how prosperous or effective they would become in our communities. You are on it. You're on it. You're on it. We say,
Absolutely.
oh, somebody say about Peggy, oh, I ain't gonna vote for her. Why am I vote for her?
Oh yeah.
Because she's one of us and she can help us and she have the knowledge to do it. And you know what she said earlier? She said she did it with limited funds. You don't have to have a whole lot of money to do it. Only
Honey,
thing
when
you
I say
need is
limited,
people to work for you, people to text, people to call, people to get
right.
on the phone and text. That's all we need.
That's
That's
all.
all we need.
That's all.
And I'm gonna beg. I'm gonna beg like a crazy woman between now and November. This thing is very serious. See, I'm the Facebook queen. That's what
Oh
they call
yes.
me, the
Yes, you
Facebook
are.
queen.
Yes, you
They call
are.
me the Facebook queen. But see, I just don't be posting scriptures. I just don't post scriptures and post preaching. I be on them channels, seeing what they talking about, seeing what they plotting, seeing what they planning, because I wants to be in the know.
That's
And
right.
that's what we need. All you gotta do is look at Fox for one night, and that'll make you want to go out and vote the next day.
I'm
I'm
serious.
telling you.
It is.
It's
It
right
will.
there in front of our face. We need to stop being jealous of each other. You're right, Miss Jenny. But we can't say, some of us we say that the other side is prejudice. Well, we got prejudiced black people that's prejudiced against one another.
Amen.
We prejudice because we
Yes,
prejudice
we
because we
are.
don't want them to have, and we don't want them to be more effective. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, you done got me worked up tonight, sister. You done got me worked
But you
up
know what
tonight.
they don't understand is that if you have someone in a position who can get other folk to see what we need to be doing, that's
Mhm,
power in itself. So what happens
mhm,
to somebody else indirectly affects your business
mhm,
because all this is about business
mhm, mhm,
and small businesses run America. If you think about
mhm,
the federal government doesn't own anything. They have small businesses, which is
mhm,
federal contracting. And anybody can be a federal contractor. They just need to have the knowledge and the wherewithal to get into that. Because, say, for instance, one lady who had started federal contracting business, the first thing she got was supplying ice chips to this hospital. She made thousands of dollars just doing that. But federal contracting in itself supplies everything, even the hospitals, like the VA hospital, all those jobs basically are contracted out. We
mhm,
need to know that when we start doing businesses.
mhm,
Everything does not have to be a mom and pops. The
mhm,
federal government spends billions of dollars a year. That's
mhm,
one aspect area we need to get into. It's not hard
mhm,
to become a federal contractor.
mhm,
And we need to start putting our energy, like if you have a business, for instance, if you do maid service, house cleaning, you can get enough people in your company that you can come up with a contract and pay those folk much more than you could ever think about paying them by having a federal contracting job. Because
mhm,
you can go, they will send you anywhere you need to go. The
mhm,
Fort Jackson, they don't have enough employees. Everything
mhm.
is federal contracted out. All these
Contract it out.
construction,
Yes.
even lawn services.
Mhm.
You can go and do the lawn at the VA, Fort Jackson, anywhere.
But who you see doing them? Hispanics.
Because they already know, they found out. See,
Mhm,
we don't take the time to find out where the money
mhm,
is. You got to
mhm,
follow the money.
mhm,
And we don't take the time to do that. A lot of
mhm,
young men who are out here doing lawn service, I've told them, I said, you really need to be trying to get into contract yourself out. They don't have the wherewithal to do it. But we can if you
mhm,
have somebody who has a federal contracting job.
mhm,
They can bid on those jobs for a lawn
mhm,
service and help somebody else in the community. Because see,
mhm,
what we can do is all of
mhm,
those other areas you see, we can put those together and help those folk make money. Because if they make money, they'll be able to help their families grow instead of working for $7.25 an hour. Because at some point in time, when we start voting like we should, we can get those elected officials to raise that minimum wage to $15 an hour. But as long as we're not voting, they'll never raise it.
That's exactly right. You're right about that.
So I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know. This term right here, you have a governor who cares nothing, absolutely nothing about anyone.
Nothing. He's a
Nothing.
sure enough Trump person.
When he got on the debate and he said that South Carolina marriage is between a man and a woman. Well, you know what? Whose business is that? When you got women's rights issues, whose business is that? We have to vote so folk can stay out of our business. Okay, pretty much. But until we start voting, they're going to always be in there. And they started with Roe v. Wade. You know what's next. Justice Clarence Thomas better be careful because it may start with his interracial marriage. I'm telling you now. They will do those things that they are a MAGA supporter, make America great again. There is no limit what they could do. There is no limit.
Let me read this.
Slavery if they could.
Let me read this. Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Nelson Mandela, African-American man trying to empower all, as Miss Loretta Coleman is advocating. Know who you are voting for and why are they true to their campaign promises. Look for the passion first. You got to look for the passion.
You know,
and you got to listen and stop selling your soul for a donation of $50 or start selling your soul for a fish sandwich. And I'm just gonna tell it like it is. I don't know no other way to do it.
It's amazing.
Oh my God, I know so much.
When I was on city council, one of the things that really bothered me the most was when I first got on there, and like Home Street was less than 6 feet away from the city line. And when I tried to bring in annex home streets, the first thing they told me, them folk over there ain't got no jobs, they ain't got no money, they can't bring no revenue into the city. Is it about the money? How about those folk are my family and they need all the resources that they can get? There is grant money out there. You don't have to spend nary dime. Just get our community development person to write a CDBG grant and we can annex the area. And that's exactly what we did. We annexed that area to make it more livable. You have folk in outhouses. I remember way back in the day, before my grandmother was one of the first in the community that had an indoor bathroom. I remember those outhouses. But when I was on council, there were plenty on the back street. And I couldn't, I'm going, wait a minute. This is not what's supposed to be going on. But they fought me tooth and nail. They were so adamant about my being on there. Why are you here? All those things. But before I came off of council, there wasn't anything that they wouldn't do for me or I wouldn't do for them. Because we learned to communicate with each other. They had to understand that my blood was red just like theirs. And there was really no difference in how we thought. But it was just the mindset of how they were brought up. They just thought that we were not supposed to be where they were. That was it. So I had to explain to them, yes, we do. Yes, we will. And they came right on out and they did it. They did it. I mean, now mind you, it wasn't kicking it. They wasn't kicking and screaming, but they did it. And after that, they realized that a lot of things they should have been doing all before and did not do it. But you have to be in, you got to have a seat at the table. You don't have a seat at the table, you don't have a voice. And right now in our state government, we don't have that many seats, even though we have the Black Caucus and they've lost some seats. And people were hollering, well, they don't have this and we can't get this. Well, you know why? because they don't have enough votes. You got to have votes. And in order to have enough votes, you got to start electing folk. When you got somebody running for a House seat, you need to put those folk in that seat. Just see what they're all about. Like she was saying, you have to make sure your best interest is there, because all skin folk ain't kin folk. You got Tim Scott has never voted for anything for us. Anything, and never will. But
never will.
He will be running for president if y'all ain't careful.
He gonna run for president.
Yes.
He gonna run for president. But I'm very serious about this, and I don't know. I've always been serious about voting, but this year I'm even more serious, and I'll do whatever I have to. I'll beg, I'll plead, I'll do whatever I can, because it's a crucial. It's very. Congressman Clyburn was on my show, and he said, if you don't vote, it's gonna go back to Jim Crow.
It is.
It's gonna go back to Jim Crow. All that freedom and stuff we got. And you know what's going to happen, our young boys, our young people, because see, our young people ain't going to take that. They're going to be in prison because they're going to kill people for trying to mess with them.
Amen.
And see, why we got to go through that when we could just go out and vote?
Those same young men who are out here now wreaking havoc in the community should have been registered to vote and out there putting their energy in voting. You want to change things, but you can't change it your way. You got to change it the right way, and the only way to change is voting. That's that's all we have is a vote. And like you said, a voteless people is hopeless people.
It's a hopeless people. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, that might be the problem. Some might think we don't belong there. Some have taught by the generation of. Some have taught by the generation of past thought. I think I understand what she's saying. Yeah, you can't live in the past. You got to know what's now. Exactly. You got to know now. You have the power. You got to say, I am somebody. I mean, Dr. Martin Luther King had so much to go through. He had the same fight we got, but it was worse back then. But it's going to be worse again. I can't say it. And we don't get up our lazy self out of that bed and vote. It's going to be pitiful. And all you got to do, if you don't think about yourself, think about your children, your grandchildren, think about them. Think about the things that they're going to be up against. Listen, you could have somebody, let me see, how am I going to say this? I went to Lexington County to court with someone. It was all different color people there. It wasn't just us.
Right.
Slap on the hand, just a little fine.
Yes.
Just a little fine they had to pay. Us got the worst of the deal. And why we won't vote? And we won't vote? And we won't vote? Come on now. That's how we're going to rise. We got to. This world is so corrupt now. We got to move forward. We got to. And look, there's enough people who've heard this broadcast tonight. Y'all get busy. Y'all get them telephones. Y'all get them emails. Y'all get them text messages. Get them going. We have power to do it, but we can't do it without you. Hezekiah Walker has this song, I Need You to Survive. We need you to survive. This is real stuff, y'all. Look, every news channel you see, they promoting 45.
Every channel.
He has nothing to worry about. He have his supporters. Are we gonna sit back and let him go in there? Are we gonna sit back and let him go in there? Are we gonna sit back and let those people get back in office? We can't get nothing.
We can't afford nothing. Huh? We can't afford to let them get back in.
We cannot afford to. This is crucial.
We can't.
This is no joke. It's crucial. I'm telling you, y'all, and we have the power to do it.
Yes, we do. We just need to go vote.
We need to go vote.
But you know, the numbers are rising. People are going out. But we need everybody to go out and vote. Our education system is jacked up, and we need a superintendent of education. We can't let our kids afford to stay where they are The teachers not getting paid. So many are leaving the system. We have to make sure that they're getting enough money to survive. I mean, it's horrible out there. And then you got the governor say, well, I gave him a 10,000 raise since I've been there. Who we gave it to? When you promoting charter schools, when you promote, come on now, we got to
And
make
if
sure.
they vote for that not the lady I had on last night,
The other one.
if they vote for her opponent, she want the federal money and stuff to go to the private school. She don't care about the public school. See, people didn't know that, and we gonna sit at home. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen is we're gonna have worse than what we had. We cannot. We looking forward. We're gonna say we're gonna have a new superintendent of education who's gonna make sure that our children are protected and taken care of. Plus, we're gonna have a new governor. We're going to have a secretary of state that we've never had before. We're going to change. We got to change South Carolina, y'all. We got
not just South Carolina, Georgia, and all other places.
Oh,
Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina.
All of
we
them.
have enough. Look, this sound comical, but we don't have enough babies where we can do it. We don't have enough babies where we can do it.
Yes. And
she said we had enough beatings. We need to. Let's see what she said. We had enough beatings. We need to be set. We had enough beatings. We need to be set free to have a voice of freedom. We need to.
We need to.
Come on, y'all. I'm serious. I'm serious about this now.
We've got so much riding against us. You got Val Demings down in Florida. God knows she needed.
Oh my God.
I mean, it seems like every state has some type of injustice going on. Some type of crazy person up at the top leading the pack. So it's going to take votes, just like we got President Obama in there twice. And that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of the power that we have, but we don't exercise our power. We don't
exercise it. I'm gonna exercise mine as long as I got good health and a good mind, and I was so sick yesterday when I went out there. Although I have curbside service, I've been having muscle spasms, and anyway I sit it, unless I'm on that medication, it hurts. And I was laying down in my car waiting for them to bring the machine. The lady said, "Are you okay?" I said, "My back hurt," but I was determined
to go.
I was determined. I remember the last year President Obama ran. That's when I was in the hospital for 75 days. I got out of the hospital the 76th day. It was election day, and had my son to drive me directly to vote with the IV in my arm, because I still had to have all that. I had all that. I was determined to vote. And that's what we got to be determined to do. And Rosemunda Peggy Butler can win. She can win, but we got to go to work. We got to go to work. I can't think of his name. What's the man name that Herschel Walker running against in Georgia?
Reverend Warnock.
He has done an outstanding job the little time he's been in there. Listen, he can win. He can win.
Raphael Warnock.
Stacey Abrams, she can win. And I want to thank God for Steve Harvey. And Steve Harvey has been an advocate.
Yes, he has.
People. He has been an advocate. Cam Newton, my guy.
All right.
Oh, he's been an advocate. That's where he's from, Atlanta. Right. He's been an advocate. And I thank God, because they're not scared to speak up.
Right.
They're not scared to speak up. Oh, I done got myself all worked up here tonight.
And we need to have more people that's pro-vote like they are. Because when Steve Harvey gets on that show, he's going to say what's on his mind.
Yes.
And how we need to vote.
Yes.
Dr. Jamal Bryant, he's going to say what's on his mind.
Wasn't he absolutely wonderful?
Honey, he's going to say it, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
He's going to say it. And he has been ever since I've ever known him. And we have to have more people who are vocal. Or what are you afraid of? That's my problem. What are you afraid of?
It's another one. I don't agree with a lot of stuff he say, but I agree with Louis Farrakhan on this. I'm telling you, Louis Farrakhan been lighting them up. and see, they're not afraid to speak. And see, some of us will say, well, them people's millionaires, they got money. Well, look at him. We got text messages.
Okay.
And we got emails, and we might can't be vocal because we might lose our job, but they don't know what you texting. They don't know what you sending. They don't know who you talking to. She said there is liberty in voting. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. We are not free yet, but Dr. King said we are in his prophetic speech. We have stand like he did, and the others that were determined to get us to this point. I'm so excited I can't even read tonight. I believe that this program tonight, not because it's my program, not because you're on, but I think this has birthed the people to get busy. It has birthed the people, and we need to get busy. Because I'm telling you, I told them last night about that fat bite cornbread and syrup. I'm telling you, food is getting so high.
It is.
We're going to have to be going back to that fat bite cornbread. So even though it's good to me and I can eat it, but I'm saying, I'm making a point. We've enjoyed the best. I wanted me a T-bone today. Now that's something I don't eat. I might go 4 or 5 years without eating a steak because I'm not a lover of it. But I had a taste for one. I went to the meat market. That thing was $30 for one T-bone.
Oh my goodness.
One T-bone. And see, many of us can't do that. And we used to could get neck bones and turkey wings and turkey necks for cheap. Now that's rise. You can't get turkey necks and neck bones and stuff. I got a little pack of neck bone from the meat market. Well, $19.95 for about 5 neck bones. Wow. I'm telling you, but it's a lot of our fault that we won't get out and vote, and that's just the only way to see it.
And I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what we need to do. I don't know what's going to make us mad enough.
Yeah.
We know in order for us to, we are always reactive. We're never proactive. So what's going to make us mad enough to say, I need to go vote. I need to go vote right now. What has to happen for you to get angry enough to make sure everybody go vote? What is it going to take?
Well, I'm gonna give them something, and I'm gonna read this, and then we got to go. We are not going to be set free unless we help ourselves. Absolutely. Patricia said, 15-pound bag of oxtails is $149. Now, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's stuff that's stuff that we eat. That's stuff that we eat. Ain't many people. If you got 2 children, 3 children, you can't buy that.
No, you can't.
You cannot. It's me by myself. I can't buy no $149 15-pound bag of no oxtails.
No, and it's me by myself, and I'm not going to even try to be thinking about that because normally during Thanksgiving we eat oxtails. We have turkey wings and we still have oxtails, but they may not see none this year. Okay, not for no $149.
Yeah, and it's just I tell you, I done lost my thought now. Because I was gonna end with something somebody said, but I done lost my thought when I saw that $149. I forgot all about what I was saying.
Oh my goodness! I tell you,
you so right. Red bucket of chitlins at $25 for the little bucket. Now,
and that's cheap.
But see, it's stuff that we eat.
Stuff
you
that
can't afford a turkey. That's right. It's stuff that we eat that's going high. Oh,
and what do we do about it?
Well, I know what I was gonna make a challenge. You said what's gonna happen?
Right.
Very expensive, this food in New York. Oh yeah, we know New York is high. We know that.
Atlanta is high.
Everybody to go and put in Google Dr. King water hose. I did that the other day. I didn't know where he was. I just put
Mm-hmm.
in Dr. King water hose and I just played it. I let it play. I saw them watering the people down that were marching, and I saw them sicking the dogs on them, and I read about all that. That motivated me over again to keep
Yes.
doing it. And then go to what's his name? The Mississippi boy that got killed. The Mississippi what's that boy name? He was a young boy
I
in the
know what you're
river.
talking about.
Oh, what's his name?
I see his face. All I ever do is see his face.
What is that
What is
boy
his name?
name? Um, I can't think of his name right now, but it's gonna go back to times like that if we don't go back and vote. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm gonna
we
tell you.
can't
I
help.
know, oh, I almost had it. Not Tillman, not Tillman. Emmett.
Emmett Till. That's it.
Yeah,
Emmett
Emmett
Till.
Tillman. Yeah. I mean, go back and watch some stuff like that. If you want to be remotivated, go back and watch some stuff like that. Go back and watch stuff like that. Think about that young boy that was down there in Manning, South Carolina, that was how old was he? 11, and was accused of raping that girl, and then they found out 40 years later that he wasn't, that she lied, and they
Right.
killed him. Come on now. All you gotta do is go. If you want to be inspired, ooh, Jesus, go back and study your history again. That's enough to inspire you.
But
Because
you
if
know
we
what?
don't get out and
I
vote
don't
and
have.
number 45 get back in there and
Ooh.
be number 47, it's gonna be a problem.
But you know, I don't even have to go back that far. I remember back in the day, there was a cafeteria over here called a cafe called Anchor Cafe,
Mm-hmm.
and we couldn't go inside at all. We had to go to the back door,
Mm-hmm.
right down here on Meeting Street, which is Augusta Road. But they didn't understand that we had to go to the back door. But the folk who was in there doing the cooking was our folk.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went to the back door, they always gave us extra. So it didn't matter to us whether we went to the back door or not, because we knew what we was going to get. But the fact was, I'm talking about West Columbia in the 60s, 70s, early 70s. There were plenty of establishments that we could not go into. So it's not that far removed for me. I don't have to go back to Emmett Till. I can remember way over here where I live, how it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me to become the first African American, it was, you know, my dad couldn't understand why you want, and this is how he said, because the mindset back then, well, why you want to go down there and mess with them folks? I said, Pop, somebody has to open the door.
Mm-hmm.
Had it not been for
Mm-hmm.
Reverend Julius Felder,
Mm-hmm.
he sued the city of Casey to get someone on the first African American there. And we went down to West Columbia. And he asked them, do you want us to sue you too? And they said no. So that's how we came up with single member districts. But somebody has to somebody has to make that first move. It was never easy. It has never, and I mean, 20 years later, it still hasn't been easy. And I know this is not an easy road, but you know where God guides, he provides. That's all.
He provides. He provides.
And he has provided this whole campaign.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a clue. But now I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Well,
so it has been wonderful. I'm glad you had me on there, because we have talked about a whole lot of stuff.
Yes.
And I hope it's motivating folk to go out there and vote and take your little children to the polls so they can see how the process is. They need to see. Let them understand. Well, you know, if you start voting the first time you vote, or you may even become president, you have to encourage children. And I want somebody to talk to all our college students. They need to understand that they need to come off those campuses and go and vote. Somebody please tell them that they need to vote. Because a lot of times they don't, when they go off from home, they don't vote.
I know they don't. Yeah, I know they don't. But they've been working with them. They've been having lines. I know they've been working with them at Benedict.
Right.
They've been having lines, and they've been registering them to vote, and they've been doing early voting and all that. But the guy I was talking about was Medgar Evers.
Medgar Evers, yeah.
Yeah, that's who I was talking about. Yes, yes. But anyway, y'all, thank you. This has been so good. You might make me come back on with a special show tomorrow night talking about voting because but seriously, it needs to be drove and it needs to be drove and it needs to be drove. But I ain't coming back on tomorrow night. But I'm gonna be posting and encouraging people to whatever area you in. We have the power to do it. It's left up to us. The question is, as we go out tonight, will you activate that power? You can say you got black power all you want to. If you don't do nothing with it, then what do you have?
Nothing. You have no
Have
power.
nothing. Have
You
nothing.
have no power.
Mhm. Everybody have a blessed night. Thank you, Rosemunda Peggy Butler, our new
Well, thank
Secretary
you
of
for
State.
inviting me here. I have enjoyed
Okay.
it.
It's been good.
It has. It has.
And everybody keep hope alive and let's go to work. When we get off of this broadcast, let's go to work. Let's go to work in our various areas. We'll be back on Monday night.
All
Have a
right. You
blessed
take
one,
care.
everybody. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.